Hey guys, my name is Loveless and we are back with Quirk Knife. Okay, so let's get on to it because I'm impatient. Izuku waved goodbye to Itoshi, who wouldn't quit complaining about a fresh bruise on his rib where Izuku got a solid kick on him. The door to the warehouse shut, and Izuku stood there for a moment until he ran over to a far corner where he can hide all his items before Hitoshi comes over. Underneath his sleeping bag was a familiar helmet, yet slightly altered. Instead of a scratched, faded gray color, Izuku had painted all over a shade of dark green. It was only fitting. You know, for aesthetic or whatever. The jaw under the visor was the same color, but it was decorated with white lines, creating long vertical triangles. Looks like some sort of creepy smile, if Izuku was being honest. Now, of course, Izuku could have left it at that, but he's been obsessed with being dramatic and mysterious lately. With some materials located at Dagaha, Izuku attached two dark green triangles to the top of the helmet resembling cat ears. They reminded him of Hitoshi, and it would make him a little more distinctive. Izuku sat down to continue the last bit of his project, stripping material from the inside of the helmet that would only weigh him down. The sun went down while Izuku continued to organize his items to make sure he had everything. The helmet was paired with a dark green sweater to match the color scheme, minus the hood because Izuku had decided it would hinder his movement, getting caught on the back of his helmet and in situations like that. Then there was a simple black cargo pants made of thick material, which Izuku knew would be perfect, keeping from cutting himself accidentally. Izuku added more large pockets down the sides of the leg so it can hold more items. He may or may not have borrowed a utility belt from a storage unit of a nearby hero agency, but no one's looking for it. Probably. It was just a gray pouch with some handles, perfect for his knives. On that same run, Izuku found a backpack made of lighter material, a better option compared to his yellow one. Finally, shoes. And yeah, Izuku could have easily gotten a black or green pair to match his outfit. It would have been easy. But fuck that, his red high tops helped him nail a slug villain in the eye, so they're here to stay. Anyway, along with the minor outfit project, that's how Izuku found himself wandering the streets every night from 1 in the morning to 5. He hasn't engaged any villains, he's not that stupid, but he's been taking notes in what he can observe while he watched other underground heroes engage in combat. He's written down some pretty useful stuff. But no, the project wasn't to take down villains, at least not yet. No, the objective was to locate Eraserhead. And Izuku hasn't had much luck. It's already been a week, and Izuku has been trying to track his patrol, but it seems like he alternates between several routes, approximately 5. Izuku was growing frustrated and began to believe this whole idea was fucking stupid, but that all changed quickly. Izuku was passing through the park at 3 in the morning, scribbling down notes and muttering to himself until a certain figure rooftop jumping caught his attention. Izuku practically scrambled his notebook shut and shoved it into his backpack, running alongside the figure, staying close to the walls of the building, hiding in the shadows. Wow, Izuku didn't know how much faster he's gotten with his training. He skid to a stop when the pro hero dropped down slightly from the roof into the alley, Quirk activated and capsule weapon ready. Izuku pressed further into the shadows and slowly reached for his notebook. Writing with wide eyes, he immediately went to assess the villain, covering his mouth with his hoodie to make sure he wouldn't begin mumbling. The villain is large, approximately 7 feet, most likely a mutation quirk, based on the discoloration of his arms. It's difficult to see with the lack of light, but it seems like some sort of reptile mutation giving him scales. Only one arm, so that's where the source is coming from. Maybe elongated nails, limbs that detach, or what it could be defense. Yeah, that's it. One arm is positioned directly in front of him. It must be tough skin. Eraserhead's quirk won't do him much good, but it doesn't matter because the villain's quirk won't help him much either. It's common mugging based on the paths that they crossed and the villain lack of combat skills. He'd just plan on running. Izuku watched Eraserhead wrap the man easily, trapping his knees together, hindering his movement. But he also let his guard down. Izuku's eyes snapped to something behind the villain's back. He was armed with a taser, and Eraserhead was unaware. The villain reached out to take down the pro hero, and Izuku forgot he was supposed to stay in the shadows. He pulled a dagger from his utility belt and threw it effortlessly, the blade piercing the villain's thumb right where the scales ended. The taser clattering to the floor, and so did the villain. Eraserhead's black eyes snapped up quickly and scanning his surroundings. Izuku both internally and externally cringed while he watched Eraserhead tie the villain up properly, slowly picking the dagger up and holding it close to his eyes. Izuku turned to tiptoe away and escape, but white fabric wrapped around his ankles, and the next thing he knew, his face was down in a puddle. Guess the helmet was a good choice. Hey, Izuku cried. That's no way to treat a minor. Aren't you a teacher? Yes, Izuku has a tendency to just know things about people. Don't ask. You could have hit me. Izuku deadpanned, still holding the knife. Izuku frowned, slightly offended. Yeah, but I didn't. But what if you did? I wouldn't have. And why's that? Izuku was still a safe distance away, lying on his stomach with his chin propped up on his hands. He kicked his feet back and forth in the air and hummed. Because if I wasn't confident in my skills, I wouldn't have done it. Would you try to shoot a rifle while hunting in a populated area if you never shot a gun? Eraserhead blinked slowly, his expression bland. Izuku continued. The answer is no, of course, because you might miss the animal and hit a person. Plus, hunting for sport makes you a shit human anyway. Sorry, not sorry. The man crouched down and balanced on his elbows on bent knees. Okay, but you can't just stab people. Izuku scoffed loudly and pressed his hands to his chest in a dramatic motion. I would never. Stabbing involves thrusting a knife or other sharp object into target. There was no thrusting involved here. Oh, that sounds wrong for some reason. Oh, so no stabbing. Another slow blink. Yes, but you did impale him. Nuh-uh, it's just a wound. So, a stab wound. Izuku groaned loudly and sat up. Right, my apologies, Mr. Eraserhead. Next time I'll let you get tased, probably beaten and bleeding out and fucking die. Better? Eraserhead looked at the taser sitting on the ground and pressed his lips in a thin line. Brat. Izuku wanted to take his chances to actually get around to what he's been meaning to. Police sirens was approaching quickly, and Izuku swore colorfully. Eraserhead's eyebrows shooting up at the language. Without hesitating anymore, Izuku lunged to the closest ladder against the building and beginning to climb, rapidly skipping several layers to go faster. He heard a grumble from behind, but completely ignored it, just wanting to escape. He reached the top of the ladder and jumped onto the roof, only to screech when the man towered over him. Izuku stepped back onto nothing and slipped, the capture weapon yanking him back up. Be careful, kid. Then don't sneak up on me. Izuku whisper shouted back, crouching down as the police arrived. Are you gonna sell me out? Eraserhead crouched down next to him, removing his eye goggles. No. Izuku hummed and turned to the man. So, your scarf, capture weapon. Same thing. How does it work? Is it your quirk? Eraserhead snorted. No. Izuku waited for some development on the response, but he didn't get one. Okay. If it's nothing to do with your quirk, then how does it defy physics? Is it technology, the material, remote control, fabric? No. Fucking cryptic little bitch, he's all too familiar. Izuku took a deep breath and to contain his anger, speaking slowly. Could someone with a quirk other than Erasure use it? Razorhead looked over quickly. How do you know what my quirk is? Ah. Izuku wagged a finger in the man's face. You don't get answers if I don't get any. The man flattened his lips. Yes. Yes to the other quirk question? Eraserhead nodded, and Izuku beamed. Great, so where you get that shit? Eraser huffed out something Izuku could imagine was a chuckle. You don't. It's expensive and handmade by underground hero support companies. You wouldn't find it anywhere. Besides, you can't learn it without proper training. It took me 6 years. Yeah, well, Hitoshi has Izuku as a trainer. He could figure it out in less than 6 years, maybe. Fine, don't tell me. I'll just do it my fucking self. Eraserhead smirked with the confident words, and Izuku stood to leave, his knees cracking. Kid, he called out quietly. You got a name? Izuku smirked. Would Eraserhead remember? Hey, what can he say? Izuku loves fucking with people. He smiled, beginning to go down the ladder at the backside of the building, calling out quietly, Mike. Shota watched the kid leave, his green helmet disappearing into the dark. Mike wasn't exactly who he was looking for, but the memory came back quickly and Shota winced, his crotch subconsciously hurting. Does that mean that was Izuku Midoriya? Where on earth did that kid learn to throw knives like that? Oh great, Shota has to speak with the police now, doesn't he? It was a grim walk to the station, knowing he has to actually talk to people. Gross. Shota stepped into the building, grateful it didn't seem to be a particularly busy night. Eraser. The detective sat as Death greeted. To what do I owe the pleasure? Shota didn't answer because he was busy staring at the thin blonde man mid-sip from whatever was in his mug. Yagi? He nodded slowly. What are you doing here? It's past 3 a.m. Go home. Yagi chuckled nervously. I was just here to enjoy some tea with my friend. Sleep wasn't coming easy anyhow. Shota just hummed in disinterest, mainly because he didn't care. He took the seat of the empty chair and buried his face inside his capsule weapon for a moment. Aizawa, you seem bothered. Is there something on your mind? Yagi said quietly, almost afraid the smaller man would snap at him. Yet Shota couldn't, because the moron was right. I ran into a new vigilante, an interesting character. Tsukachi sat up straighter, a raised eyebrow. That is indeed interesting. Shota hummed inside somehow dramatically. And there's more. Both of the men were quiet, and he continued. I didn't say anything before, and perhaps that was a mistake. But what's done is done. I was looking into a missing kid from an apartment complex incident a few weeks ago, and met someone at the scene. It was the boy looking through rubble and picking these notebooks up. Said his name was Mike Hawks. The little shit then escaped. How did he escape? Tsukachi asked. Somehow he entered working mode, scribbling down words onto a notepad. Shota bit his lip. He wasn't about to embarrass himself. Just he slipped out of my sight. I wasn't on guard. Tsukachi pierced his lips and looked up. I know you're aware of my quirk. Ah, shit. Fine. He punched me in the balls. If any of you laugh. Shota trailed off with a menacing glare. Yagi audibly swallowed. Tsukachi shrugged. I'm not here to judge, Eraser. Now, anything else? Well, once he ran off, I noticed a missing notebook, and the name Izuku Midoriya was partially written on the cover. Tsukachi groaned. Why wouldn't you report this immediately? Honestly, Shota didn't know, and that wasn't his brightest moments, that's for sure. I made a fucking mistake, alright? I don't know why I made the stupid choice, but it's why I'm here now. Before the vigilante ran off, I asked his name. He said it was Mike, and he's clearly being snippy with me. Alright, did you see the vigilante's face? Shota groaned. No, but from the voice, it had to be a young teenage male. It sounded familiar. Tsukachi flipped the current page he was on and switched from pen to pencil. Describe the vigilante, please. Shota closed his eyes to help him focus and spewed whatever came to mind. Green helmet with cat ears, green hoodie, black pants, a black backpack, or was it gray? A shaded black backpack. And his shoes, why did his shoes feel so important to share? Red shoes, and about 5'3", 5'4", hard to see their build under the baggy clothes. Choice of weapons or knives? Yagi coughed. Knives? Shota reached out his pocket and pulled out a dagger he kept, the tip smeared with a little blood. He placed it on the desk carefully and stepped back. Didn't even notice he was there. The villain I was against had a weapon, and I'm ashamed to say I was unaware that he was armed. The kid threw a knife and hit the villain right in the thumb, causing him to drop the taser. It was a practice throw, too, aimed and confident. That's off-putting, Tsukachi whispered. Why would anyone like Izuku Midoriya know how to throw knives? The detective shook his head. From the apartment complex. Could you describe the boy as well? Just to assure facts line up. Shota had to think a little harder this time. The boy looked tired. He was wearing a hoodie. It was so difficult to describe. His hair was covering up most of his face. It was a dark green, I believe, and curly. He was wearing a yellow backpack, and from what I can see, his skin was very pale. Some freckles or dirt or something too. Shota noticed Yagi's eyes widen slowly and steadily, but continued. I only saw his eyes once, but they were obviously bright green. Yagi coughed up some blood into his fist. Could you repeat that description? Shota was visibly annoyed, but did as told, restating exactly what he said. Tsukachi looked between his paper. Shota and Yagi, the blond man growing distressed. I think I've met this boy you've described twice. Shota blinked slowly, and words slipped past his lips before he can bite them back. The fuck? So Yagi quickly explained saving a boy trapped in sludge, and how the kid made a reckless move, latching onto his leg as he jumped. Yagi looked guilty, and Shota quickly knew why. You told him what? I know, Yagi cried. I don't know what I was thinking saying something like that to a child. It was just the truth. Without a quirk, you can't become a hero. He would be demolished. Shota pinched the bridge of his nose, and Yagi continued on the second time. It was the same day. Wait. Shota's eyes snapped. He threw a knife at a slug villain's eye? That can't be coincidence. Yagi nodded in agreement. He also used his shoe, which was, creative. The hero continued, and Shota's face was practically red with anger. You asked to train him after what you said? How fucking entitled do you have to be, Eraser? Tsukachi said stiffly, almost like he knew more. Please, keep it together. He turned me down, anyhow. I was in so much shock I never had the chance to respond. He seemed so eager to be a hero just moments before that, so I thought he would say yes. Shota swore quietly. Well, I suppose he has something of a lead now, better than before. Tsukachi clicked his pen a few times with wide eyes, then looked at Shota. You need to find this vigilante again. We need some sort of proof, and since quirklessness isn't very common, well, you know what I'm getting at. With information like that, this will be a solid case. Shota groaned because he knew the man was right. This is based around manipulation, and Shota wouldn't appreciate it if he was in the kid's shoes. At the same time, it was for his own safety. Who knows what the kid's state of mind is like? Fine, for the kid. Until she loves his technology, and he doesn't love a lot. On his phone, he can be by himself, and he doesn't have to talk to anyone. It's a literal dream world, or the radio, where he can sit alone and shut his eyes to music. Hitoshi was currently working on a new analysis for Izuku. He decided to try Best Genius since a lot of information would be accessible on the hero. In the background, the radio played softly. Hitoshi's favorite station, Heads Up Radio with present mic. Hey, he may not be a bubbly personality, but that doesn't mean he doesn't enjoy bubbly music. Now, Eraser Mike said with a strange English pop song came to an end. For our recent news. Meh. Izuku had Twitter for that shit. Hitoshi was getting frustrated while trying to sketch out best genius until President Mike's serious tone caught his attention once more. Let us know, once again, to emphasize the importance the police are still looking for a missing child. If you have any information, please let the authorities know. That's Izuku Midoriya. IZUKU MIDORIYA. Hitoshi snapped his pencil in two clean halves. Did Izuku do something stupid? It's literally only like, oh, shit. It's 4 in the morning. Fuck. Fuck you, Insomnia. It's been over 10 hours. And Izuku is somehow a missing child? Just remember, President Mike continued, Izuku Midoriya has been missing for several weeks now. Please help us ensure his safety. Thank you. Oh, that little whore. Hitoshi ripped his laptop out of his skull bag and swung it open, with more force than necessary. Typing in his little fucking friend's name, nothing came up immediately. Strange. Hitoshi went to a second page of Google, then third, then fourth. If he's a missing child, why is the information on him so difficult to locate? Quirkless child missing. Hitoshi finally read the titles of the news article. Oh, that explains why. Quirkless. The article was pretty dry, but it showed a picture of the remains of the apartment complex. A villain caused damage with one fatality, the mother of the current missing child. Fuck. Hitoshi mumbled. Izuku's name only mentioned once. The dots began to connect while Hitoshi stared blankly at the computer screen. Oh. He breathed out slowly as everything he'd seen, the signs, the behaviors, they all made sense. I'm gonna kill him. Ah! I love this. I love this. Oh my god. Oh my god. This story is so amazing. I love it. I just love it. I can't say anything else. If you want to see more of this amazing story, you know what to do.